So let's get on with this chapter here real quick. This is, again, socio-emotional development in infancy. And I usually start out by asking my class, do infants have personality? And almost without exception, everybody will say, yes, they have personality. But the problem is that McCrae and Costa, they're really the personality theory gurus. They will say that personality is fixed, that it never changes. And so if it's fixed and never changes, can I diagnose an 18-year-old with a personality disorder? 18-month-old with a personality disorder? Maybe some 18-year-olds, but 18-month-old with a personality disorder? Not likely. Not going to do that. I wouldn't do it, because you've got to be, your brain is not even developed yet. How can I diagnose someone with a personality disorder? So what they have, though, what they developmental psychologists call this emotional develop is called temperament. So we use a different term. It's not quite as strong and fast as personality. They discuss in the text primary emotions like surprise, interest, joy, and then there's self-conscious emotion like embarrassment. So they distinguish the two of them throughout the chapter here. They do talk about crying. They mention only 3 types of cries in the book, but there's been research that shows I had one student who did a research paper on crying, and she found there was like 20 or 30 different cries. It was just an amazing number on the numbers of cries that are out there. Can you imagine the person has to do research on babies crying? Tough job for them. All right. They talk about temperament again, going back to that, classifying it. There's 3 different approaches that the text talks about. Chess and Thomas, and then they've got in there's 3 categories. There's the easy child, and that's just the easygoing child. Doesn't matter. They just seem to blend in well everywhere. The difficult child, which is really going to have some challenges. They react negatively, cry frequently, engage in irregular daily routines, slow to accept change. And then there is a slow to warm up child. And this child is going to come around. It's just they're somewhat negative and display a low intensity of mood, but they'll come around. I often, in my practice, I will use Chess and Thomas's classifications to describe a child to the judge or the insurance company that I'm working with that's interested in seeing who the child is or how the child is. So that's Chess and Thomas. We've got Kagan's behavioral inhibition, interesting man, and then we've got Rothbard and Bates classification, which kind of combines the 2 of those things, Chess and Thomas and Kagan's together. Going quickly because I spent a lot of time talking about the essays, but there's also just want to make sure I emphasize some key things here. Attachment. Again, this is so interesting to me. This area of attachment. Attachment is defined as a close emotional bond between 2 people. In the text, they introduce you to Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth set up an experiment called the strange situation. And so in this experiment, what happened is that there was like a two-way mirror, two-way mirror, and inside the office, there would be a mother. She brings her child in, and then she's sitting there like in a doctor's office. There's toys for the kid to play with, and then a stranger comes in. Now this is all being observed, and so what happens is the mother is directed after the child does some social referencing and says, okay, the stranger's okay according to my mom, then I'll continue playing. Then the mother leaves. Now what we want to see is how does a child respond when the mother leaves, but more importantly when she comes back. And what they found is that Mary Ainsworth found is that there are 4 categories that they fall into. Securely attached babies, insecure avoidant babies, and insecure resistant babies, and insecure disorganized babies. These are typically babies that are abused. And later on in the text, and I jump forward and I go back, later on in the text, they tie parenting styles with those responses from the babies. So let me just go real quickly with you here. They talk about securely attached babies have caregivers who are sensitive to their signals and are consistently available to respond to their infants. Avoidant babies, parents tend to be unavailable or rejecting. Resistant babies, parents tend to be inconsistent. Sometimes you respond to babies' needs, sometimes they don't. Disorganized or often neglected, there may be neglect or physical abuse involved there. And so it is kind of interesting to see that. And what's really cool is that we've been able to see the attachment that we have as an infant carries forward. We'll see later on in the text how it carries forward to our intimate relationships as an adult. It's just fascinating to see how that moves forward towards us. All right. One thing they talk about too is child care, good or bad. That's one of the debates that are out there. Most of the research is going to say that child care, while in and of itself is not necessarily bad, you want to get the best type of child care that you can. And parents still spend more time with a child than they do in child care. And so, while in some research, although it's not in the text I've read, we'll always talk about that first year of life is so important for one, either the biological father or biological mother to be with the child as opposed to child care. And so with that said, guys, that kind of wraps up this chapter. Those are a couple of key things that I highlight in my class. I hope this helps a little bit. All right, thank you guys.